For 7 long years, she raised a child in silence, abandoned, forgotten, erased. But when her son needed a bone marrow transplant, she knocked on the door of the man who had once shattered her world. And this time, she didn't come alone. Welcome to Infidelity Truths. Before we dive into today's gripping story, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more thrilling stories just for you. Let's begin. Take it easy, Marin, he whispered, his voice barely more than a breath against the quiet dread that lived between us. I should have pulled his hand away. I should have said something when his fingers, roughened from the docks, yet gentle in a way that made my skin ache, brushed the inside of my thigh. I should have, shouldn't I? But I didn't. My eyes fluttered shut, breath hitched. And then he said it, so softly I nearly missed it. I just don't want you to hurt anymore, Marn. It sounded innocent, tender even, like care, like concern. But that one sentence, it turned a key I didn't know existed, deep within. It unlocked a truth I had buried for years. From that single moment, the woman I thought I was began to unravel. If you've ever silenced your truth in the name of what's proper, if you've swallowed the ache because the world wouldn't understand, stay with me. Because this story isn't just about guilt. It's about the raw, messy, unspoken realities we live and bury. They called it a miracle. 4 years ago, a logging truck skidded across a rain-slicked highway in the outskirts of White Shore, Maine. It slammed into the passenger side of my car, sent it spinning like something weightless, meaningless. I woke up 3 weeks later in a hospital that smelled of bleach and loss. My legs didn't work. Steel rods crisscrossed my hips. Pain became my companion. My body, a stranger I didn't know how to speak to anymore. You're lucky, Marin, the doctor said. Lucky. Fortunate. No one says it like they mean it when you can't feel your toes or lift yourself off a toilet. But I'd lost more than movement. I lost her, the woman I used to be. I ran the town's library, I hiked. I lived on my own terms. That woman was gone. And in her place? Silence. Stagnation. The woman in the mirror had eyes filled with pain and distance. I became a whisper. A cautionary tale. Such a shame, they'd say at the store. She used to be so vibrant. No one deserves that kind of vanishing. Then Kellen came home, from the seasonal job up north. Taller now, broader. His face no longer soft with youth. His body moved with quiet strength, a calm certainty. He filled the house again, not just with noise or movement, but with presence. He scooped me up from the chair like it was the easiest thing in the world, his hand steady, his face unreadable. And something in me stirred. I didn't want it to. God knows I didn't plan for it, but sometimes healing crawls into the room wearing unfamiliar clothes. He was 6 when I took him in. Temporary foster placement, they'd said. Just until his family gets it together, they'd promised. But months became years. No one ever came. I was 25, barely more than a girl myself. I read him bedtime stories, taught him to ride a bike. He called me mom before I was ready for that word to live in my mouth. And eventually it felt real. A home. He was mine, not by blood, but in every other way that mattered. I'm 47 now. He's 28. Time plays cruel tricks. It stole my job, my ability to walk, my independence. My body, once a source of pride and strength, became a prison. And Kellen stepped in again without being asked. Just until you're stronger, Mom, he said. But we both knew, stronger might never come. Our house sat at the end of Windbreak Lane, a place where winters curled around the walls like wolves. On stormy nights, the heater groaned like a dying beast. The sky pressed down, heavy, gray. Inside, it was just us. He cooked. He lifted me from bed to bath, his hands always careful, always respectful. But somewhere in the quiet, a new current formed. Something unspoken, too large to name. It started with a massage. My legs ached, a relentless pain born from atrophy and cold. He rolled up the hem of my sweatpants, hands warm on my chilled skin. He worked into the knots. I barely breathed. But then, his thumb strayed, higher, just an inch, just enough to make the air thicken, just enough to make my entire world tilt. We froze. His hand recoiled. Sorry, he whispered. I should have said no, but I said, it's fine. And it wasn't. From that moment, everything was different. Every brush of his fingers lingered. Every glance burned. My skin remembered more than I gave it permission to. I told myself it was a phase. I told myself I was lonely. I told myself it wasn't real. But those lies, they thinned. One night, I couldn't sleep. He knocked. Your light was on, he said, rumpled from sleep. Stay? I asked. He did. We lay there side by side. I reached out, just a brush of his hair. A gentle line traced down his temple. My fingers paused at the nape of his neck. He didn't stir. But the next morning, something in his gaze had changed. The silence grew louder. And then one evening, Thursday, I remember because of the storm. Rain slammed against the glass. He came in soaked, shirt clinging, jaw clenched. You okay? He asked. Cold, I said. He draped a towel over my shoulders, then sat beside me. Too close. Close enough. His hand slid under the blanket, found mine. You're trembling, he said. I nodded, and then he whispered, if this is wrong, tell me to stop. I didn't. He kissed me. Not like a son. Not like a caregiver. Like a man who had been holding back something for far too long. And I kissed him back. After, we lay tangled in silence. Then he whispered, you're not really my mother. I blinked. Panic flared. I've always known, he continued. No one told me. You didn't have to. He paused. I kissed you because I've loved you for a long time. Not as a child, but as the only person who's ever seen me. My throat ached. What does that make us? I asked. He took my hand, held it like an answer. It makes us real. People in White Shore still smile at us. He's so devoted, they say. What a brave woman, they say of me. I smile, but they don't know. They don't see the glances, the warmth that lingers, the love that doesn't fit cleanly in a box. We live a quiet life, a hidden one. But inside this house, behind drawn curtains and shared cups of coffee, in the warmth of his hand on mine, we live a truth we don't speak aloud. It's messy, it's flawed, but it's ours. And maybe, just maybe, that's what love is. She smelled like lavender and snow. That's the first thing I remember when I came back home. How Marin's room always smelled like lavender and snow, like comfort and cold at the same time. She was asleep when I walked in, curled in that hospital bed, with her knees slightly bent like her body was trying to remember movement. Her hair had silvered more than I remembered. But her face was still the calm in every storm I'd ever known. And when I saw her like that, small and still, something broke in me. She wasn't the woman who used to chase me barefoot through the garden or pack my school lunch with handwritten notes. She looked fragile, empty. And I hated that. I hated what the accident stole from her, from us. I wanted to give her something back, even if I didn't know what. I was 28 when I moved back. People whispered, of course. Such a good son. He gave up everything to care for her. If only they knew. I didn't come back out of duty. Not entirely. I came back because Marin was the only person who ever made me feel whole. And that terrified me. Because how do you love someone you're not supposed to love? She never talked about the accident, not in words, but her silence screamed. When I carried her to the tub, when I helped her brush her hair, when I rubbed her legs to chase away the pain, I saw it in her eyes. Grief, anger, loneliness, and something else. Something she refused to name. I saw it because I felt it too. I didn't mean for it to happen. The first time I touched her thigh, it was supposed to be just a massage, that's all. She was cold, in pain. I just wanted her to feel something good. But when my fingers drifted up and she didn't stop me, when her breath caught and her hand twitched like it might reach for mine, I felt my control crack. I pulled away, burning with guilt. Sorry, I muttered. It's fine, she said, but her voice shook. She didn't say no, and that terrified me more than anything. That night, I sat in my room staring at the ceiling, asking myself what kind of man I was becoming. She raised me. She gave me a home when no one else wanted me. She's twice my age. She can't even walk without help. And yet, I wanted her. Not out of pity, not out of loneliness, but because when she looked at me, I didn't feel broken. I felt seen. One night, I found her in the living room, curled under a blanket. The storm outside was relentless. Thunder rolled through the valley. You okay? I asked. She replied, then said, cold. I wrapped her in a towel, my hands trembling more than they should, and then I sat beside her. Too close. And then, under the blanket, I found her hand, warm, open, waiting. If this is wrong, tell me to stop, I whispered. She didn't. I kissed her, softly. Her lips parted like she'd been holding that breath for years. That kiss, gentle, aching, full of something we'd buried too long, it changed everything. Afterward, she asked, what does this make us? And I said, it makes us real. Because it did. Nothing about this was traditional, or clean, or easy, but it was real. It was the most honest thing I'd ever felt. Sometimes I wake before her and just watch. I memorize the curve of her neck, the lines at the corners of her eyes, the rise and fall of her chest. This isn't a fantasy. This is a life we're building out of all the wreckage. The world wouldn't understand. But that's okay. This love, we didn't ask for it. We didn't plan it. But we chose it. And maybe that's what makes it worth keeping. You want to know what happens next? Watch part 2. You won't believe the twist.